boys and girls, and in particular to the 3 students who requested a tutorial on ADS but are not here. Hopefully you will watch this at home, or you might walk in the door any minute. So I was asked if I could go over the ADAS curve for those who are away on tournament week and help you to understand how we can use it to show the causes of unemployment. And in particular, we can show unemployment changing, so it's increasing or decreasing. So let's try and move this forward a bit so that you can see the model. So on the board, we have the ADS model, and this stands for, I'll write it here, aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And in both cases, the aggregate equals total. So this is where you need to think big, and you need to think the entire economy. So when we think about aggregate supply, if we were to look at every single market in the country and every single producer in those markets, that would be aggregate supply. So total production, total supply of the economy. Aggregate demand is a little bit trickier. It's total expenditure in the economy. And that means that we have to think about all the groups who spend. And a really good way to think about aggregate demand is the circular flow model, and think about all the sectors and all their spending. So if we kind of have a look at the model here, it looks very similar to a supply and demand model, but it's not a basic supply and demand model. This is not a market, this is all the markets. So on the vertical axis, we have to change our label to not be price, but instead be price level, so that reflects all prices in the economy. So we're saying, in general, what is happening to the price level in New Zealand? So our price is going up or down, and that's how we measure inflation. So inflation is a change in the general price level. If it's going up, it's inflation. If it's going down, it's deflation. So this axis here tells you the current price level in New Zealand. It would tell you the current level of inflation. And a statistic that kind of goes with this axis is the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index and the official measure of inflation in New Zealand. On the horizontal axis, we are looking at a type of quantity, but we're looking at all the goods and services produced in New Zealand. So we're looking at New Zealand's total output for a given year. And if you measured the final value of total output for a given year, that would actually be GDP, real GDP, because the price level has been taken out. So it's been adjusted for inflation. It also can measure some other things. So we call it output, and you'll note it's Y, not a Q. And I don't know if I mentioned it, the price level is not P, it's PL. Some American videos will put P, we put PL. So PL for price level and Y for output. Just to make life a little bit interesting with the horizontal axes, when we talk about GDP and a national output, we can actually use this horizontal axis to measure a little bit more. We can use it to measure our total output, so have we produced more or less? But then if you think about it, we are talking about unemployment. What you produce, you can sell, and that can help you make income. So your total production or output can also be your total national income, because you sell it, and therefore you earn income. Also, when you produce output, you need resources to produce that output. So the more we produce, the more output means more resources are used. So it's also another way to measure employment. And if you go back to the income and you think about the circular flow, the total amount of income in the economy should match the returns to all the factors used in production. So if we produce more, we employ more resources, and therefore we need to pay out more income to the people who own the resources, and that would be households. So, as I said, just to make life a little bit more difficult, this horizontal axis actually measures, 3 things. It measures your total output, which in real terms is real GDP, so your total output adjusted for inflation. And here, that can then also measure our national income, and it can also measure employment in terms of resources used to produce that output. So, getting back to the curves and what's going on in the middle. Looks very similar to supply and demand, and just to make life interesting, it's got D and S, but the key bit is the A. So we have an equilibrium point between the two curves, so your aggregate demand equals your aggregate supply. You have current price level, which would be like the current rate of inflation, or the CPI index for that year. And then you have the current level of output, which would be your current level of GDP. So, kind of breaking it down, I told you that aggregate supply, and I'll note that here. All right, aggregate supply equals total production. So, as I said, if we would look at all producers in the economy, all the firms, and their production, and whether they're willing or able to produce and supply to the markets. The things we want to think about here, so when we think about will it increase or decrease, because we are going that way, we want to think about cost of production, COP. That's a really big factor in terms of how much producers are willing and able to supply and produce. Another couple of really important factors are the level of technology they have. This could be sounding a bit familiar. Their productivity, which is related to the technology. That might be about, in New Zealand, a big one is the environment. And I don't mean like environmentally friendly packaging, I mean like earthquakes, natural disasters. I mean, are we having a drought? Clearly not today. Is there like a really bad weather, heavy rains that flooded everything and destroyed all the grass, so the cows got nowhere to sit and eat grass because they're underwater. So the environment's a pretty big one for New Zealand, and it can actually mean that you have no production in an earthquake, it's gone, you can't produce anything. Also things are destroyed. Also it can mean that you have to, like your costs go up, particularly for like farmers when they've got droughts. They have to pay more in like feed, they have to like go out a lot more to move stock around to where there's like stuff to eat. So the environment can not only stop production, it can also make it more expensive to produce. So these are pretty big ones. Other ones to think about are trade, and I'm meaning here, do you have any tariffs, any trade restrictions for producers trying to get their goods into a country? Free trade deals can help us be able to increase our production by particularly increasing our markets we can access, and reducing things like tariffs and quotas and other non-tariff trade barriers. Another one for New Zealand is politics, and I'll put /legal factors. And a really good example of this is GST. So GST is a tax levied by the government on the sale of goods and services in New Zealand. That's going to affect your firms, so that's going to affect your aggregate supply. Another one is the minimum wage. So the minimum wage is a law that's imposed by the government, so politics and legal, but it actually has an effect on your cost of production. There are other things like the 90-day rule, where you have like a trial period and then you can let someone go. That could be helpful actually for firms, and it might increase their productivity maybe. Another one would be Health and Safety Act. That's like another regulation that's imposed on firms that would possibly make it more difficult for them to produce more, like the more compliance issues and stuff like that. The Resource Management Act is another political legal factor that can impact on firms and their ability to produce more or less. So it's quite a lot to think about there, and I think you kind of can easily think back to year 11 economics and think about the factors of supply. It's just that now you're not looking at one firm or like a market supply, you're looking at all supply in the economy. Aggregate demand is quite cool in that, okay, it's total expenditure, but when we think about what impacts total expenditure, there's actually a really cool little equation to help us think, is aggregate demand going to increase or decrease? And that is, so if I put here, equals C plus I plus G plus X minus N. I'll do a little box around it. If you're in room 6 and you look up, you'll see this on the wall, on the blue, on that side of the room. Okay, so that's my left. All right, aggregate demand equals consumption, so total household consumption in the economy. It equals all the expenditure by firms on capital, which is called investment. So this is going back to the circular flow model, the spending by different sectors, the money flows. So you've got household consumption, or you called it consumer spending last year, investment by firms on new capital goods. G stands for government spending on things like public goods and services, collective goods like schools. And then you've here, usually this has a bracket around it, this is the overseas sector. So this shows the total expenditure by foreigners, X, on us, our export receipts, less the total expenditure by New Zealanders on other countries' products, import payments. All right, and when we add this together, this equals our total expenditure. So a lot going on. The big thing for you is to think about what causes these curves to go up or down, and I'll go over that. I'll stop now and then I'll do a separate video. When the curve shifts, you have an increase in AS, you're looking at the price level going up and output going down. So that's AS decreasing rather. If you're looking at AS increasing, then you're going to see that output Y is going to increase and the price level is going to go down. And then we're looking at like AD. If AD decreases, then the price level is going to go down, and Y is going to go down too. Whereas if it increases, we're going to see the price level go up and output go down. So it's quite a lot to go with there, so I'll do that in a separate video. All right, see you later.